In the last 6 hours, while the mainstream media was busy analyzing a single report from Reuters about a potential 24-hour window for military action, something far more terrifying and significant happened in the dark. Most people missed it. We are not just looking at a diplomatic breakdown. We are looking at a logistical reality that usually signals the point of no return. Satellite data and ground reports suggest a quiet, massive movement of specific personnel out of the Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Now, you might think this is a retreat. It is not. In military doctrine, you do not clear the blast zone unless you are preparing to drop the hammer. But there is one specific asset, a particular capability that the United States has just moved into position, which changes this from a warning to an imminent kinetic event. I will tell you exactly what that asset is and why it guarantees a conflict unlike anything we saw in Iraq or Afghanistan later in this video. But first, let's look at the map because the clock is ticking and the world might look very different by tomorrow morning. Welcome back. To understand the gravity of what is unfolding right now, we need to strip away the noise and look at the raw intelligence. Reuters has reported that the United States is considering military options against Iran, with some sources whispering that the window for action could open within the next 24 hours. This report did not come out of a vacuum. It coincides directly with President Trump's explicit warning regarding the execution of protesters in Iran. When a U.S. president tweets, "Help is on its way," it is rarely a metaphor. In the world of geopolitics, ambiguity is a tool, but this statement was dangerously precise. However, we need to analyze this from an American strategic perspective. Why now, and why is this different from the tensions we saw in 2020 or 2024? The difference lies in the intelligence regarding Iran's nuclear breakout time. For years, we talked about months or weeks. Today, intelligence assessments suggest we are talking about days. The administration is not just reacting to human rights violations. That is the moral justification. The strategic justification is the neutralization of a nuclear threat before it becomes untouchable. Let's go deep into the logistics because amateurs talk strategy, but professionals talk logistics. The reports of U.S. personnel being moved out of Qatar are the smoking gun here. Al Udeid is the forward operating base for U.S. Central Command. It is within missile range of Iran. If the Pentagon believes that a strike is imminent, their first priority is force protection. You do not leave your chess pieces on the board where the enemy can easily knock them over. You pull them back to maximize their survivability so they can support the offensive. This movement indicates that the Pentagon anticipates a massive retaliatory barrage from Tehran. They are clearing the deck. This tells us that the strike, if it happens, will not be a limited pinprick. It will be substantial enough to trigger a war. Now, let's talk about the economic dimension because this is where it hits home for every single American, the Strait of Hormuz. 20 to 30% of the world's oil supply flows through that narrow choke point. If the U.S. launches a strike, Iran has one primary card to play, mining the strait and sinking tankers. They have practiced this for decades with their swarm boat tactics. If that strait closes, even for a week, we are looking at oil prices skyrocketing to levels that will make current inflation look like a joke. The U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve is there, yes, but it is a buffer, not a solution. The administration knows this, so if they're pressing the button to spite this risk, it means the threat they are seeing is existential. This brings us to the geopolitical chessboard. Where are Russia and China in this equation? Moscow is currently tied up, and Beijing is dealing with its own economic slowdown. The U.S. planners likely see a window of opportunity here, a window where the traditional allies of Iran are too distracted or too weak to intervene militarily. They might issue strong condemnations at the UN, they might send supplies, but are they going to start World War III over Tehran? The Pentagon is betting the answer is no. This isolation of Iran is what makes the next 24 hours so critical. The regime in Tehran knows it is cornered. A cornered regime is unpredictable. Earlier, I mentioned a specific asset that signals this is the endgame. This is the part that should worry you. We have received unverified but persistent indicators of the positioning of the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, the GBU-57. This is a 30,000-pound bunker buster bomb. It is designed for one thing only: It is not for tanks, it is not for infantry. It is designed to crush deep underground fortified facilities, specifically like the Fordow fuel enrichment plant in Iran. You do not load these onto bombers for a show of force. You load them when you intend to collapse a mountain on top of a nuclear program. If these birds are in the air, diplomacy is dead. We also need to consider the cyber dimension, because before a single missile flies, the first shot will likely be silent, a massive cyber attack on Iran's power grid, command and control systems, and air defense radar. If you wake up tomorrow and hear that the lights have gone out in Tehran, know that the Tomahawks are likely already airborne. This is the modern American way of war: blind the enemy, deafen them, and then strike. So what does this mean for you? It means we are standing on a precipice. The Reuters report of a 24-hour window is not a guarantee, but it is a probability calculation based on the movement of steel and fire. The U.S. is signaling that it is done waiting. The evacuation of non-essential personnel from the region is the final checklist item before engagement. We are monitoring the situation minute by minute. The carrier strike groups are in position, the rhetoric has hit the ceiling, and the diplomatic back channels have gone silent. History happens when you're not looking, but right now, the entire world is staring at the Middle East. If you want to stay ahead of the mainstream narrative and understand the raw geopolitical reality as it unfolds, make sure you're subscribed. We dive deep where others just skim the surface. Hit that like button if you appreciate this analysis. I'll see you in the next one, hopefully with better news, but prepared for the worst.